What is up, guys? This is Jared Spalding here, and you might notice I have my camera on kind of a weird stand. It's not just a still photo. You can see my hand right there. So, I just wanted to put my camera on something so it finally wouldn't be shaking so much, I wanted to make the camera not shake anymore, because that's been a really big problem that I've had, and I just know that was a really big problem, with the camera shaking too much, so let's try it like this. I hope you guys prefer it. Anyway, let's get right into this, So, today I'll be discussing what makes a coin valuable, and just like overall, what will make a coin actually have value, and how to tell if your coin, how to determine if your coin has value or not, all that good stuff. So let's get right into this, huh? Alright, so there's a few things I think you want to look for that overall will generally make a coin valuable, but I'll go into further detail on each one. I'm just not just going to throw out a bulleted list or something. I'm going to actually provide you with some examples and everything like that. So, first of all, and this is one that people usually don't think about too much, but you want to make sure your coin is part of a popular series, right? If it's some, weird foreign coin from like some really obscure country that no one's really ever heard of or something like that, then chances are its value is not going to be nearly as much as something like, something from the US or, an old Spanish coin, or just, really like well-known nation whose coins are very popular, England, France. I mean, a lot of those countries in Europe especially do have some really popular coins, as well as the United States. The United States probably has the most widely collected silver coinage, just because a lot of it can be bought on the cheap. So, which applies to other countries too, but, therefore, like, for example, the coins I'm showing you right here, these are a great example. This is a peace dollar right here, and very popular dollar coin series. These are probably the two most popular among collectors, the Peace and Morgans, just because there's some that have really high value, like the 1964 peace dollar, for example, which is one of the most valuable U.S. coins. Those are actually, I don't even know if those exist or not. There's a whole debate about that too. But if it did exist, it would be one of the most valuable coins in the United States, possibly the most. So, there are definitely some that are on the higher end, though, of value, and there's some that are on the lower end. And that's what really makes a series, popular, is if there's something for everyone. Something for people who just want to buy, silver for silver, but still have a little bit of numismatic value, as well as something for new collectors, and something for people who have been around for, 30, 40, 50 years collecting. You just want something really valuable, whatever you want, these series can offer. So that's definitely something to look for if it's part of a really well-known series, because even if it's, just as common as something that's part of, just an obscure coin that no one ever heard of and they have the same mintage, the series will usually carry a little bit of a premium on it just because of that, just because it is part of a popular series, and that is something I want you guys to really know about, because some people don't really think about it, but definitely what type of coin it is really can help its value overall. Now, another thing you want to look for is the date. And these are not always reliable because, for example, I have this foreign coin that says 1371 on it, but it's actually from like 1953. So that was kind of a ridiculous example, but not always reliable, so you might want to do some research. Obviously, I knew the coin wasn't from 1371 because it would be super valuable, and that was obviously something that wasn't true. And so I looked it up, and then I saw it was actually from the 50s, like 1953, like I said, or 56. I can't remember the exact year, I'm sorry, but, anyway, that was definitely something I knew was gonna, not be true, so definitely don't be fooled by anything like that. I had another coin that was from like the year 2200, like 26 or something like that. I think it was a North Korean coin, which obviously that year hasn't even come around for us yet, so actually, I think it was North Korean, but then again, I don't think North Korea is. I think North Korea is in like the year like 186 or something. So I don't know. I'm really confused by it, honestly. Maybe you guys can explain it a little bit better to me. But it definitely said North Korea on it, if I remember correctly. But anyway, that's not the point here, But the date can mean a lot, and it can also mean nothing. It's one of those really tricky things, because a lot of people might think, well, the older a coin is, the more valuable it is, right? Well, age doesn't really have anything to do with it in of itself. It's the fact that it becomes rarer and rarer over time, which I'll discuss in just a minute here, but there's a huge difference between age and rarity, and which I might discuss in my next video, actually, come to think of it. But, age in and of itself, as long as a lot of the coins survived, that may not be too valuable. It might help it a little bit that it's older, just because there are people who believe that the coin should be way more valuable because it's older. But let me just provide an example, right? So, let's say you are given the choice between, I don't know, we won't even go with silver here, but just a 1909 SVDB wheat penny, which is pretty old. But then you can have a Roman coin that is 2,000 years old, and you think, oh, well, obviously 2,000 years old is better than 117 years, right? I mean, that makes sense. Sure. Except if you consider the fact that those Roman coins, while older, are worth just about nothing, because you can literally pick them up for like $10 a piece, while the wheat penny is going to run you, possibly over $1,000, anywhere from high hundreds to thousands, and so you definitely want to rather have that coin, even though it might not seem as valuable. The mintage is going to be a lot lower than those Roman coins because those became super inflated, as they produce more and more of them out of cheap metals. While that coin had a relatively low mintage for wheat pennies, and therefore is really valuable. Sorry about that sound, just a car passing by. But anyway, so the age is certainly something to consider, but also you do want to be careful not thinking that the coin's going to be super valuable because of it. Now, next I wanted to discuss is mintage. How much of the coin was minted. And remember, we were referring to coins used as actual currency at one point, so this would really apply to these things, because a lot of times, as you get later and later on, the coins were minted in the millions or billions if you're talking about pennies. So this is definitely something to consider. Like, again, 1909 SVDB wheat pennies are a weird exception because that thing had a relatively high mintage for its value. It had 484,000 minted, but I believe the only reason that it is really valuable is due to the fact that, that's just something to consider. Of course, is going to be the mintage on the coin. But like I was saying, I do believe that, sorry, I had to pause the video for a second if you're wondering. I'm just trying to remember exactly where I was, but I do believe that is kind of a weird exception. I think it's because a lot of the other pennies from the years had in the high millions, or I think like hundreds of millions, maybe even like low 100 million era, but maybe 50 to like 200 something million were minted of them. So I think that's really why, even though it had a relatively large mintage, it's still considered very valuable. It's because the other ones were minted in such extremes. My thought, maybe that's all I can think of because the other ones are so easy to obtain. But, that's just something I did kind of wonder about the coin. But other than that, usually mintage is going to mean a value. Like, for example, you look at something like the 1913 V-nickel, which only 5 of them were ever minted, and can be worth, $5 million. It's an insane amount of money for, a little piece of metal that's worth, a couple cents in melt value, you know what I mean? And worth you could literally, it'd take you 20 of them just to go to the dollar store and pick yourself up a pack of plastic Army Men. There's literally not enough in the entire existence of the world to get, a little pack of Army Men, so, it's really only valuable based on its own merits, which is pretty impressive, to think about. It doesn't have any kind of precious metals or anything helping its value. So definitely, some coins that are really low mintage can have high values, but I'm not expecting, anybody to pick up anything like that or have anything, any amazing coins like that, because that would be pretty insane. But there are definitely some good ones out there, and if you know where to look, you can even pick up some rarer coins for a good deal, as long as, you're willing to take a little bit of a risk on eBay, or people just really don't know what they have in real life. Like, you actually know the person in real life, and they just don't know what they have. I mean, that's really the only kind of times I can think about that, but you definitely can get some good deals. You just do have to know where to look, but mintage is definitely something to consider now. Another thing is when the coin was minted. Not date necessarily implying to that itself, but, let's say the coin was minted right before a war, right? This is a good example. And a bunch of them were melted down. And since these ones were made, let's say a year before the war started, a bunch of that year were melted down. Even if the coin had a mintage of, let's say, 5 million, but 4.5 million were minted down, well, then it's still a rare coin. So, what happened to the coin during its life is another thing to really consider, because a lot of coins have been made very valuable because of that. And, it's something you can probably easily find out if there's a big story behind it. But you might think, oh, this coin only has a mintage, or its mintage is 5 million. It can't be worth too much. But then you look and see there's only 500,000 left. And of course, over time, more and more of the coins are going to be accidentally lost or destroyed or something like that. So they're always going to become a little bit more valuable unless there's a crash in the market for them. But it is definitely another thing you want to consider. Again, it's not something too many people look at. I mean, obviously, a decent amount of people know about it, but new investors don't really think too much, I don't think, about a lot of these things, other than the fact that they think, oh, the coin's old, so it must be valuable. And that's definitely not a trap you want to fall into, but anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video, a little bit of a longer one. And again, I'm sorry I had to pause multiple times, just, a lot of background noise and stuff like that I'm trying to keep out of the video. But that is it for this one. Peace, love, and much respect.